So I'm Kate Ferguson. I run research and policy at Protection Approaches, which is a new human rights charity based in London, which I co-founded. I believe we are the only organisation in the UK that has a specific research and policy programme aimed at assisting the UK in better predicting and preventing mass atrocities. And my own academic research, which now sadly I do not have nearly enough time for, looks at the dynamics of mass violence and identity-based violence, which is Protection Approach's broader remit, which is to look at all forms of identity-based violence at home and abroad. And I teach human rights at the University of East Anglia. I think the big challenge is, one, atrocity prevention isn't really acknowledged or known about in the UK, and where it is, knowledge and understanding is very low, and so there are a lot of either assumptions or misconceptions. I think there is real scepticism and hostility to the notion of the responsibility to protect, and that comes from a number of different positions. I think one is anxieties across the British political spectrum and in public around that started really with Iraq and have just seemed to consolidate. And it doesn't necessarily matter if actually Iraq had nothing to do with R2P. It's been bound in the kind of popular imagination. The second is Brexit. I think that is zapping a huge amount of energy and political time, but also is just one manifestation of this really growing hostility and wariness of the values of multilateralism and inclusion and shared responsibilities and participation. And then the third is, I think, really from the human rights sector, where people and organisations I would see as natural allies are very wary of what atrocity prevention is, and they worry that either it is too specific. They also have some of those anxieties around the third pillar of R2P and assume that is mostly what atrocity prevention is. And I find it baffling that it is so hard to explain that it is really simply trying to add an additional component or augment strategies that we know aren't working to prevent these dreadful manifestations of mass violence. And that's the baseline, and I don't understand why that's so hard to convey, but it is. Be brave, find female allies. I don't think I realised quite how important that is, and the older I get, the more important I realise that female network and that female mentorship is everything. And I thought it was a cliche when I was 22, 25, and I just think I need it more and more and more, because it's hard, and it's really sad that it's hard, but it is. And there are so many brilliant women, as this glorious network demonstrates, but sometimes it feels like they're not there because they are harder to find, because they're not on the panels, they're not at the sessions. And being able to simply know that you are not the only person who gets treated like the secretary or gets the hand on the knee, that just makes it easier. So find brilliant women and be brilliant.